Greetings, sea captains. Welcome back to Classic Crafts, the video series that turns the shipyard into the schoolyard, taking fantastic ships from the Ship Expo and learning how to recreate them with all their bells and whistles. Today's episode features a highly unusual ship, the Big Guy, created by 316-759-958. With no weaponry and no ability to transport itself, the Big Guy is unique within the Ship Expo. Even the silly apple tea house can move from A to B. The Big Guy can, however, perform an amazing range of movements in situ. This is thanks to its complex dynamic components, which allow a great number of movements and dependent interactions that are impossible to achieve using only a single machine part. No preloaded ship in Sea of Craft captures human movement quite as well as the Big Guy does. This is one shipbuilding exercise where the usual concerns, like hull balancing, mobility and weaponry, all go out the window. We will be considering decoration for our robot, but this will have to be an afterthought. Our primary concern is making dynamic components that look great and do the job. This means today we'll be focusing mainly on machine parts and the interactions they create with other parts. This being said, we'll need the help of our deck parts to make our machine parts behave in the right ways. Our deck components should be big enough so they don't cramp or block out their movements, and they shouldn't be so big that their mass interferes with the normal operating of the machine parts. At the same time, we should deliberately use deck parts to limit the movement of our machine parts, so long as it suits our needs. For example, the Big Guy has knee and elbow pieces that prevent the T-shaped pivots in these joints from moving in the wrong directions. Today we're going to examine 3 body areas in detail, specifically how we can recreate their awesome movements. We'll start with the torso. The torso has 2 dynamic components. The first is the neck, which is controlled using a T-shaped pivot 90 degrees. This allows the head to move back and forth slowly. The second is the waist, which rotates. This is achieved using a simple manual rotator. Remember that the mass balance affects the behavior of the manual rotator. If the 2 sides have similar mass, they will rotate in opposite directions at similar speeds. If they're imbalanced, the lighter side will rotate much faster. The Big Guy's legs have 2 dynamic components, the hips and the knees. Both are controlled by T-shaped pivots 90 degrees with separate key commands for each component and also for each leg. The hips are allowed to move freely, whereas the knees are constrained by this little kneecap deck piece that stops the leg from bending the wrong way. Together, these 2 components allow the Big Guy to raise and lower his legs while bending at the knee. The Big Guy's arms are highly complex and involve a number of machine parts and interactions. You can control each arm individually and also each joint, with the exception of the elbows and wrists, which are grouped together. First up are the shoulders, which can move in 2 different dimensions. These T-shaped pivots 90 degrees allow him to raise his arms to the side. The manual rotators here allow him to lift his arms up to the front and back, like he's reaching out. The Big Guy is able to rotate his arms infinitely, like a drill bit. This is achieved using a manual rotator in the biceps. He can also bend his elbows and wrists, which are assigned identical key commands to do bicep curls. See what amazing things you can do with these arms when you put everything together. With this many machine parts, you'll need to set a lot of custom key commands, or else everything will move all at once. Because there are so many key bindings overall, controlling the Big Guy can be difficult. There are 2 principles that should guide you when it comes to key command allocation. First, bindings on the same part should be grouped together. For example, rotation of the left bicep is controlled by alpha 9 and O, which are adjacent to each other on the keyboard. Second, key commands affecting the same body part should be grouped together. For example, keep all the different commands controlling the left arm close together on the keyboard and create a separate group for the right arm. During the building process, you will notice that your machine parts move quite violently and can be difficult to control. The default settings for most machine parts are set to allow them to move heavy, simple loads, which is the opposite of what we're trying to achieve. For our purposes, it is therefore preferable to use multiple parts with lowered force and sensitivities, performing the same function as one part. This helps regulate movement and prevents jerkiness, making everything easier to control. As a general rule, reducing force and sensitivity is a good idea for complex components. And that's it. Phew! Building a robot puppet takes quite a bit of persistence. As with making an effective speedboat, a lot of tweaking and testing is needed to make this kind of ship successful. Once you've got the hang of building complex components, however, the rewards are enormous. It opens up a world of exciting and truly unique effects that even the game developers cannot account for. Complex components are the magic ingredient that pushes your skills to the level of true master shipbuilder. Go out there and make something nobody has ever seen before. Thanks very much everyone, see you next time.